Chief James Craig is a Detroiter through and through. He was born here, raised here, graduated from Cass Tech, and started his police career here in 1977. A 19-year-old starting the beat 10 years after the Detroit riots.
And it was all about race relations. It was about a predominantly white police department that was treating African Americans poorly.
After graduating the academy, Craig was soon assigned to a scout car. He will never forget his first partner, a 25-year veteran who was white.
He looked at me and just simply said this: I don't want you here. You do one thing. You just sit over there on that passenger side and be black. Don't touch the radio. You're not going to drive this car.
Craig called his father as soon as his shift was over.
I said, I don't know if I can do this. And I told him the story. He said, well, you don't get it, do you? He said, in order to change the institution, you need to become part of the institution that needs to be changed.
His dad's words stuck with him while realizing there's only so much he can do on the streets.
It was that moment that I decided and set a goal that I would become a chief of police.
But first, he would spend nearly 3 decades in Los Angeles. Craig was laid off from the DPD in 1981 and moved west, where race barriers were just as prevalent. Craig says at first they were obvious, in his words, overt. Then the racism became covert, behind closed doors.
Conversations on opportunities, whether or not to promote somebody, and a lot of the conversations center around race and gender. I was told I would never become a police chief. I was told that by someone who didn't look like me. And I smiled. And even when I got to a point, because I set a very finite goal of when that needed to happen, and nothing was going to stop me.
And nothing did. Craig became a rising star, but even other African Americans who were above him tried keeping him down.
One person who was of a high rank, who was African American, was one who was trying to vigorously derail me.
Craig calls that black-on-black crime and the elephant in the room. One would assume there would be mutual support.
Many do support each other, but to sit here and tell you that it's universal is not true. I've worked in different cities, and the attack does not necessarily come from someone of another race, but it can come from someone who is of the same race.
Promotions in police departments are based on many factors. Diverse job experience is a major one, but different opportunities within departments weren't always afforded to minorities. But for Chief Craig, it was a white lieutenant who noticed he was an exceptional writer, another major factor in promotions. Craig, though, loved working as a sergeant in the streets and initially turned down an administrative promotion.
He says, you don't get it, do you? He said, the only way you're going to promote and continue to go up in this department, you've got to diversify your experience. I'm not taking anything away from leadership in the field, but what needs to happen, you need to come inside. And I did that. Had it not been for that lieutenant, and going inside, I would not be sitting here to this day.
First, though, Craig would become the first African-American police chief in Portland, Maine, then the chief in Cincinnati. Not bad for someone who was told he'd never be chief.
I'm humbled by being able to come home. This is my third city as chief of police. And as I oftentimes, tell my team, this is the best time of my almost 44 years. The best time right now here at home in Detroit, leading for now almost 8 years as chief of police. So the message to young people, never let anyone derail you, discourage you.
In Detroit, Nick Monticelli, Local 4 News Today.
Notion has been the centerpiece of